particularly want to move on with the COVID situation and how that relates to antinatalism. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's very interesting. It's very interesting how we're worried about causing the death of others. Like, we're worried. We're wearing masks. We're trying to keep our social distance to stop people dying horribly, perhaps horribly. I mean, there's a 1% chance of them, getting this COVID.
By the way, is it any more horrible than getting cancer?
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly, you beat me to my point. So I don't know. There's a 1% chance that they'll die off this COVID.
Yeah.
And yet, we're not worried about having a child and them having perhaps a 50% chance of getting cancer. And I don't know what the rate is of death, but maybe 16%, 20% chance of dying horribly from cancer, which is a much higher chance than COVID. And then there's all the other opportunities for harm and suffering, on the way to getting cancer and dying from cancer. There's I read somewhere lately that nearly 1 in 4 children get sexually abused, and it's a similar statistic for women who are raped. And every 40 seconds, someone commits suicide. The actual rate for people who attempt suicide is much, much higher, because most suicide attempts obviously don't end in death.
Yeah.
So yeah, my point is, and you made it as well. The point is, we seem to be worried about being killed by a strange coronavirus that has a very low death rate, but we're not worried about causing death in other ways for people, and we're not worried about imposing harm on others by creating them, which is weird.
Yeah, I know. It's very strange, but it's the way DNA has managed to manipulate our bodies and minds to not even think like that. But it's quite interesting, like you say, that we've got this new consciousness about how we don't go out without masks on, because some chain of events might happen. You might then cough on someone, and we don't know exactly how it carries, and they might then meet someone who might be old, who is old, and they might have other things, and then they might end up, and they go on and on and on, and it might end up with someone dying, as opposed to making a woman, like a man making a woman pregnant, which will create someone that will definitely die, probably in a really nasty way, that will definitely suffer, sometimes quite possibly in a horrible way, and that will definitely cause suffering to other people and to the environment.
Yes.
So surely, surely
it seems to be a strange double standard, a strange, cognitive dissonance that people just don't want to see.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
By the way, we never touched on it, but I also think that we need to find a way to prevent all life from replicating. And I think that anyway. So
yeah,
I think that the natural world.
Very briefly now, but perhaps that's for another conversation. What you're saying is that animal suffering that is going on out there is also not necessary, and certainly the factory farming situation is an absolute, as far as I'm concerned, just most horrific stain on human. It's another reason why we shouldn't be reproducing, if we're going to be reproducing people who are just going to be carrying on with this systematic, horrendous abuse of sentient beings.
But I argue that, and I know you argue the same, that even without human interaction, the natural world is itself a horrible meat grinder. And, animals suffer immensely just by being born into the natural world. I'm the type of person, when I used to watch, David Attenborough programs when I was a kid, I wasn't like in awe of these lions going around, tearing these zebras into shreds. I was thinking, this is grotesque and horrific, and we're in hell. because these are sentient creatures just like you and me, and they're just going about their business doing what they've, being biologically programmed to do, and yet they're dying horribly, and the lions are just doing what they're doing as well. They're programmed to do this, and they're victims as well. I mean, they get cancer, they starve to death, and they also get torn to shreds as well. So yeah, it's one big horrible meat grinder, and if I could find a way of stopping it all, I happily would.
Right. Okay, well, we'll leave that on that wonderful positive note. And it's been really, really good to speak to you, and hopefully we'll speak again. And stay safe in the bedroom, control DNA, and save lives from coming into existence.
That's right. Don't be an imposer of harm. Don't make anybody die. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.
Bye.